All right. So we are back at it. Thank you so much for tuning in. We are going to be checking out this track again. In our last video, we took a look at the drummer, Easy Drummer, and we did some mixing there. We did a little bit of mixing and just overall making sure that the drums sound good in the mix. If you want to check that out, it'd be really cool. Today we're going to move on to guitar. So I am a guitar player. So as you can imagine, the hardest part for me in a mix is the guitar because that's how we are. We're a weird breed. So I'll probably do acoustic and electric in this one. Acoustic is not doing a whole lot. It sounded really good. I had a friend record this acoustic guitar and it sounds very, very good. I really like it. So let's take a look at what we're looking at. Let's take a look at what we're working with in the mix. And then just kind of dive into the guitars. The bus already has a little bit of processing, but I will go ahead and turn that off just so you can get a feel of how they sound like raw. Okay, so let's see what's happening here in isolation. So guitars, they sound really great out of the box. This is a bounce, by the way. That's why these are all stereo tracks. They used to be just regular monos, but I bounced them out just to make more room in the project, save a little bit on CPU because a lot of these mastering and EQ plugins can be a little heavy. So that's something that I can offer right off the bat. If you're sure of what you want to do, you're sure that that's the take. You have it comped and everything. Don't be afraid to bounce it. You can always keep it if you want, but don't be afraid to bounce it or freeze the track just to save on CPU because you might need it down the line. I have a Mac Studio with an M1 Max chip, so this is a very powerful machine. But you might not have a machine that's powerful. So it's really good for you to just make sure that you're using your CPU correctly because it can cause problems. So guitar. Let's check out this intro guitar. I really like how this was all done. By the way, in terms of plugin, I am a Neural DSP fanboy. I use Neural DSP Nolly. So the Archetype Nolly with a bunch of presets that I've done. Won't see them here because, again, this is a bounce, but I do have the original plugin somewhere. I'll probably put up a screen capture of it right here in editing. But yeah, that's what I'm using. I am running into the interface directly into Nolly, and it sounds really good. It sounds like this. The reverbs, and they're caked into the track, by the way. This is not an external reverb. This is the reverb inside the plugin. Love that. I love that. I just can't help myself. I really like the way that turned out. So what am I doing in the beginning? So in terms of the bus, there are certain things that I want to do to certain of the tracks, and then there are certain things that I want to do to the bus. So first and foremost, guitars, I'm cutting at 110. I'm doing a low cut here just because guitar doesn't really have a lot of things going on here. All it does is just muddy the mix. So there's not a whole lot of, there's no fundamental frequencies, so I'm cutting them. Because I have a really nice sounding bass in this track. It's an old Gibson bass that we'll get to probably in a later video or something. So we want to cut at 100 almost always. If you have a normal 440 regular tuned guitar. You know, we are you're looking to always cut this 100. That's kind of par for the course. I have a bit of a boost at the 700 range, so just a little bit of mid-range bite. And then I have a scoop here at 25K. I'm sorry, 2,500. 25,000 would be 25K, but we're cutting here. Guitar, once it gets distorted, it starts producing this very weird, airy frequency right there. I can show it to you in a second. So this is like a very like run-of-the-mill, like this is what I will start with, no matter, pretty much almost exclusively boarding on, like this is like a preset by this point for guitar, at least how I do them. So and just to kind of give you an idea of what that hissing sounds like. See that airy? That's always there, so you always want to cut it. So it lives around there. It can vary. If it has a lot of distortion, it can move a little bit up, it can move a little bit down, but that's like, this is a very standard EQ, just a bit of a mid-range bump. The guitar is a mid-range instrument, so that makes sense. And then I'm running it through Heatwave because guitar sounds so good through Heatwave. It's like I'm like, I'll shut up and you can just see it, honestly. It just brightens everything up so much. There's a little bit of weirdness going on here with when it got quantized in a little bit of a weird way. I'll have to fix that a little bit. I might show a video on the editing, or I'll probably just fix that before the song comes out and be done with it. But so that's why if you feel a little bit weird timing issue, it's there. When it got recorded, when it got snapped, it just moved it really weird, and I just haven't gotten around to fixing it. But Heatwave, this is a free plugin. Anything Steven Slate, if you're producing, get everything if you can afford it. But this is a free plugin, and it is amazing. I typically don't push it past 13, 15. This is adding some saturation and definition, and it just like I can't imagine the guitar tone without it. Yeah. And then running the Filk channel from Kive Audio as I usually do. I have the saturation once again, adding just a touch of it, not adding any additional gain. I am not using the EQ here on this particular channel, and the compressor is like barely touching it, if I remember. Yeah, so we're just getting 1 or 2 dBs of gain reduction. It's just to kind of tighten up that sound a little bit. So that's the bus. Like, all guitars are being touched in that way because that is a very general guitar type of thing that you want to do for most guitars, like pretty much irrelevant to the genre. Like you're looking to always do that usually. Again, in terms of mixing, this is all pre-mixed, so that's why a lot of these faders will be pretty similar. They're not going to be super crazy different because it is a bounce and they were pre-mixed before them, so your mileage will vary there. So I think honestly this sounds really good as is. It's not doing a whole lot. The guitar is not a super focal presence. I just want to bring this up enough in the mix where they start to make sense. But a lot of these can be a little bit muffled. So we'll try to touch these up a little bit more and see what we can get sounding. Just bringing up that guitar a little bit. So I can just giving it a little bit more definition, and I'll probably use another instance of Heatwave here just because this is Steven Slate. I'm sorry, it's Slate Digital. Steven Slate is a different one. Apologies to Steven Slate, I think. So this is already sitting a lot better in the mix. So essentially what I'm looking for is we're essentially gain staging at different points in the song, right? We're looking at this in a way where we want it to start off a little bit lower. We want it to then bump it up a little bit more. We want to have a bigger chorus, and then kind of anything in between, just kind of bring it down a little bit. So this part definitely needs to be very emphasized and needs to be very present. The rest of these parts, like the beginning, can be a little bit more nuanced. So I'm just going around, giving them a good listen, taking care of some annoying frequencies I'm hearing along the way. I don't necessarily have to take off a lot because, remember, I'm doing a lot of this in the mix bus. So, I'm just making sure that this particular guitar has certain frequencies that it's being accentuated. There's a very low focus guitar, so we can probably just take a little bit just to even that out a little bit. See, this one is doing a similar thing, but it's a lot brighter sounding. So I don't want necessarily the same thing happening here. Just want to accentuate it. Guitar loves saturation. Just look how much that changes. It's crazy. It's like night and day difference, I swear. So let's see how this is looking in the mix. Honestly, let's see what this is doing first of all. Whoops. That's not it. You might be wondering, why am I not just giving it more volume, right? If I just want to bring these up, why am I not giving it more volume? Because sometimes the solution is not more volume. The volume is there, the information is there. You just need to accentuate it in different parts. So right now these guitars, they sound, you can hear them. They're there, but I don't want them higher in the mix because they sound great. I just want to give them that touch. So that's the key, saturation. Saturation is there for a reason. It's there to give things sound, to give them a little bit more life so they can sound a little bit better. Obviously there is such a thing as too much saturation, especially coming from the guitar world. But already, we've been recording this for just a little bit, and this is already sounding a lot better. It's sounding a lot more present in the mix. It's sounding, but not overpowering, right? So before then, it sounded a little dull. The guitars weren't sticking out as much, and I definitely want them to be a focus in this mix, as did the artist. But instead of giving it more volume, and I just have louder, dull guitars. So instead of doing that, I'm better off saturating it. Because that way I don't have to give it more volume. There's going to be more perceived loudness, but there's not going to be any actual loudness. There might be some loudness being added, but it's very minimal. And what we're doing is saturating it. We're emphasizing those transients. We're emphasizing that definition, right? Because the guitar is an instrument that's where it likes to be. So you see I use Heatwave a lot on guitars, like on almost all the channels, except like these higher stuff, just because I want them to be very in the background, so I don't want them to be very big. So let's see how this is sounding in the mix, and we'll do acoustic guitar too. We'll check the levels on the voice in a later video. But let's see the guitar, the acoustic guitar. This, like I mentioned, I had a friend of mine record this. Shout out to Brandon. And it sounds so good. Like, he recorded this. I don't know what mic he used. I should probably get that. I'll if I remember, I'll put that in the description for Microphone Junkies. But I'm pretty sure he used some version of a 57 of a 7B. I know he has one. He has a UAD one of that. He probably used something of the sort, and they just sound so good. Let me give that. A little touch of reverb. It just sounds so good. Let's see in the beginning. I might just end up leaving the reverb permanently lower. Want to get a touch of that. So I like my guitars, the acoustic guitars, to be present in the mix. It might be a little loud now that I emphasize it, so I might bring it down a tad. But essentially, I like it to always be a little bit present. Maybe not. It might be a little loud now. We'll see that a little bit more in context. But I like it when you can still hear the acoustic guitar throughout. I come from church, so acoustic guitars are like the bread and butter of a lot of modern worship music. So, in rock music, a lot of folk type music, all this to say that don't bury the acoustic guitars in the mix. They come on, they want to be there too. Okay. Let me just move this out of the way. Whoa. Because right now you want them to be there. Just realized you're a little too loud. So, a test I always like to run is if you're not sure where an instrument is sitting in the mix, just play it, mute it, listen to it in solo, and see how you feel about it. Because when you listen to it, and if you can't hear it, and you listen to it in solo, and then suddenly you can hear it, then it's more of a mind trick, and it's probably there in the mix. If you mute it and you can't even tell, then you might need a little bit more volume. Hear it? I think it sounds great. Yeah, so I think, honestly, I am not one for just staying around and mix the instrument for 3 hours. Something like an acoustic guitar and a piano that we'll move on to the next video. We'll probably see bass and piano in a single video because I don't spend a lot of time on them. If they sound good, if it sounds good, it is good. And this sounds good. So yeah, I think we'll leave it there. And so we covered a little bit on the electric guitar. That's where we stayed most of it. If you take anything from this video, download Heatwave. It's free. It's literally free. And putting on all your guitar buses and all your individual guitar tracks and just saturate everything forever and ever. But yeah, that's going to do it for me. I am going to cut this one here. I will be moving on to bass and piano in the next one. Thank you so much.